Alright, we're gonna play the intro video for you guys while we get ready to get into this game. Alright, and we're back as we are getting ready to go into this game. As you mentioned, UC Irvine has a high Asian population, and that could play in their favor, but UC Berkeley has a high pro population, and that might be a bit more important here today.
Yeah, UC Berkeley has got such a long-standing history in the CSL of being such a dominating force in the Collegiate Star League, and I mean, you just take a look back at some of their history compared to UC Irvine, who didn't actually have any teams in fall of 2016 or spring of 2016 and didn't actually make it to the playoffs because of that. They did not even have a team. So I'm hoping that we're still going to be seeing something good, and I think this first series is going to be pretty interesting because I believe that we're seeing at least a former Masters League player playing for UC Irvine.
That is correct, and he's spawning here in our bottom right-hand corner playing for Team UC Irvine. Give it up for Requiem.
And up in the top left-hand corner of the map, the red Zerg player representing an actual team, Flipside Tactics, as well as UC Berkeley. Give it up for Silky. Man who is quite literally about 10 to 15 miles in my within 10 to 15 miles of me basically right now.
Oh, that's awesome. Silky's a really good guy. I've gotten to know Silky and some of these other UC Berkeley guys pretty well just from going to the NA LAN scene. They're not usually the guys you expect to necessarily win the tournament, but they'll always show up. They'll put up their best results, and a lot of the times they can make some deep runs.
Yeah, they really are just a really swell bunch of people, and of course UC Berkeley and UC Irvine, both very good schools, so I'm sure that these guys have themselves busy, but you know, it really just goes to show you, StarCraft players, they're just inherently smart people.
Yeah, I mean, you get UC Berkeley, top school like you mentioned. Obviously, there's going to be a huge concentration of pro and semi-pro talent. Like Padre, Berkey, or yeah, I almost called him Berkeley. Padre, Silky, and Gookie are all, you know, kind of at that, I don't know if we call it pro, but competitive level, right?
Oh, absolutely. Did have a pylon block coming down right now, by the way. A Requiem just going to try and block that out for a little bit. He lets the pylon finish up as well in the meanwhile, so he just goes for his third expansion. He has some Zerglings on the way, so he wasn't playing overly greedy, but only had made 2 so far. The next 2 are going to be coming out pretty soon. His third expansion will be very minorly delayed, but it's worth noting Requiem's natural expansion is actually pretty late as well.
Yeah, I think with that double gate, if he's going to chrono out those adepts, get them out as quickly as possible, one thing he can really take advantage of is the distance between the natural, or rather the main, and what is effectively Silky's natural, and just bounce back and forth with Shade's favor, because until his speed finishes, those Zerglings simply can't keep up, and Silky will have to rely on good drone and queen control to defend his middle account if we do see that 2 adept aggression coming out.
Really interesting. Requiem, I mean, I think it's not just the pylon that he went for, or even just the double gateway. It's the fact that he also made a zealot, which I think is very unorthodox right now in the current meta. But he's going to have that over there ready to block off any Zerglings that get too aggressive. And it was an extra 100 minerals that slowed down that Nexus, but the adepts are on their way out across the map. And Silky should be taking a third expansion relatively soon, I imagine.
Yeah, he may choose to play a little bit Ling heavy right before he goes for this. We do see the drone already in position but making those extra lings a safety measure just because we talked about he knows he's a bit more vulnerable and he wants to make sure he doesn't take extra adepts due to the split between his main bases. And now look, he's going to have absolutely plenty to deal with these adepts as they come shading into the main base.
Yeah, what's kind of cool about the position that Silky took that third expansion in so much earlier than his natural is that these adepts are going to have a hard time shading between the third expansion and the main base, whereas if it was between the natural and the main, it wouldn't be as big of a deal.
Exactly, and now it looks like knowing the ling count of Silky is quite high at this moment, Requiem is just going to back off. He did manage to pick off one drone, but I think given how much his Nexus was delayed, he wanted to find a little bit more damage than that.
Robotic Facility and Twilight Council are both going to be coming out behind this, so I'm curious what the follow-up is, but there is no real wall-off completed over here. The Zerglings are just going to be able to pounce on in over here, and the Adepts are so far out on the other side of the map that really is just Photon Overcharge, but I'm actually a little bit worried. If that Zealot was not there, these Zerglings would be running straight into the main base, but really nice job, Requiem, having that extra Zealot early on is actually starting to pay off now.
Yeah, there is almost enough energy for another Photon Overcharge. Silky's going to try to get on top of this Robo Facility, but he will be forced away once again, and I think with just that Photon Overcharge, Requiem's bought himself enough time to continue getting his production established.
Adepts also make their way back home, and the wall-in is also completed, so Requiem should be sitting pretty okay at this point, but Baneling Nest is on the way for Silky as well, an Evolution Chamber, so seems pretty evident what kind of style of Zerg we're seeing here.
Does need to be a bit careful with the positioning of these Adepts because it looks like these Zerglings could get run by. They get this round on top of this Zealot, and they're going to pick that off nearly for free. Stalker on a good hold position here in the mineral line, but it looks like Silky able to get through that with great micro.
Yeah, and even if he doesn't actually end up killing a ton of workers over here, he's been so annoying. He gets some Zerglings into the main base, 3 of them going on the gas guys rather than the probes. A little bit of miscontrol over there, but Silky's still doing a really nice job. Gets a probe or 2 for his troubles, and is going to have that Baneling Nest finishing up.
Yeah, and during all of this, he droned very well at home. He's now up to 45 workers to just the 30 probes of Requiem, and I think because of that pressure he was putting out on the map, he was able to feel very safe back at home. When you're constantly posturing, you know that your opponent's not going to attack into you.
Yeah, Roachhorn is also coming on out, and I'm sort of surprised we still don't see Silky going for a lair. Now, it's okay for him to not have started up his lair just yet, but it is starting to get a little bit late. With so many Zerglings coming out, I kind of feel like this is just going to be a really big Baneling bust.
Well, I think that's a popular move on this map. I mean, once you take down those back rocks, there's multiple angles you can attack from. Your Lings can move in and out basically forever, and that third is so open that any time that Requiem does manage to hold on, Silky can go around and just put pressure on top of that. We see the Banelings starting to morph in now, and I think you were right, Revy. We're going to see a kill move coming in.
Yeah, this is definitely going to have the potential to end the game if Requiem doesn't hold this well, but there is a lair coming up behind this, +1 melee attack's also coming up, and the double Photon Overcharge take care of all the Banelings. Really nice focus fire from Requiem over there, making sure he actually was focusing down the Banelings as opposed to the Zerglings.
Yeah, it looks like he's basically deflected this with a bit of ease here. The Photon Overcharge just about wearing off. Silky looking for absolutely any damage he can find. He knows that attack did not do what he wanted it to. And now the last of Silky's Lings are maybe going to be pushed back here? Yeah, it looks like they will.
Yeah, but like I was saying, he did get a lair behind this. He did end up getting all kinds of his upgrades going. He got up his, or he's starting to get up his centrifugal hooks. I think that Silky's really not in that bad of a position. I don't think he was committed to making aggression happen. I think he just wanted to make it happen.
Well, it looks like aggression is not stopping Revy because we've got a drop loading up. It's going to be moving probably into the mineral line of the natural from the looks of things, and he's going to be looking to carpet bomb these probes with some Banelings.
He's going to do it at the same time that he moves into the third expansion with these Zerglings, so the Banelings go on in, get massive worker kills, and that was all just because Requiem was busy dealing with the Zerglings.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the fact that Requiem may have been a former Masters player, but Silky, I've actually seen him in like the top 16 of Korea back in 2015 or 2014 when he was playing a lot. And you know, I think what we're seeing here right now is just Silky having that better multitasking, those fundamentals that allow him to do more things at once than his opponent.
Well, Requiem's going to try and go for one big push out while he knows that a lot of Silky's army was taken out, but the Roaches and Ravagers are coming as almost non-stop units coming out right now for Silky, and he's leading up a decent amount of supply, gets a full surround, the Baneling lands on top of the sentry, and it seems like this is going to be a pretty easy cleanup.
Yeah, this army taking a devastating corrosive bile on top of the Immortal, which was the anchor of this push, and now there's nothing really left. Silky just cleaning that up completely. A handful of Roach Ravager left, and he's reinforcing with Pure Ling behind this. Silky is looking to get aggressive here in game number 1 of this series.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, all Requiem really has is maybe 2 or 3 units that he can actually warp in at a time, make maybe 1 or 2 more Immortals, and then just double a Photon Overcharge. But that's only going to buy a little bit of time. There's just such a massive army supply lead for Silky. I think this might just be curtains. I think Berkeley is going to be taking game number 1.
Yeah, the Immortal goes down for free there. Not a great start. Silky comes running in. It's an okay positioning here for the Adepts, but you can't outposition Corrosive Vials, and GG is called.
Well done by Silky. Putting one on the scoreboard for Berkeley is going to be feeling very, very confident, I think, moving into the rest of the series. One thing that we did not actually get a chance to talk about, since we did start pretty quickly, was I want to give a huge thank you, of course. For those who don't know the Collegiate Star League, this broadcast is very much brought to you by the wonderful sponsors of the CSL. If you guys are interested in checking them out, first of all, Twitch. It's where all of you guys are watching this entire broadcast on right now. Do be sure to give them a little bit of love for supporting the CSL, making a lot of those LAN events and all the offline parts of the CSL, as well as, of course, the online parts as well, happen. And, Joe, who's our other sponsor?
Well, guys, we've got Band, and what Band is, it's a kind of social platform that can bring you together and help you connect with other gamers. If you're interested, especially in starting your own CSL team, they've got a lot of great features that can empower you to do that. That includes things like an in-house calendar, social features, just ways to communicate, coordinate, plan, and basically everything you need to get a team going. So if you want to learn more about Band, we're about to play an ad from right now. It'll give you some information. You can check them out. They have a website. They're also available in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. So we're going to play a quick video. It's going to tell you a bit more about them. And if you're interested, I highly encourage you to check them out, guys, because it's sponsors like Band that make this possible.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Let it go, catacombs, you let it go.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to Game 2 of our second series here in the CSL. I'm Joe Laguitas, joined again by Fear Dragon, and we're getting ready to hop into Dasan Station for our second map.
Yeah, always one of my favorite maps to see, and it's going to be an interesting one with a Terran versus Zerg coming out. UC Berkeley fielding yet another one of their fairly strong and former, I would say, semi-pro players, Goki, also from Team Flipside Tactic, and of course UC Irvine sending out Jawu, the Zerg player.
Jawu. Well, let's go ahead and introduce our players spawning in the bottom right-hand corner. Playing for Team UC Irvine, it is Jawu.
And up in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the red Terran player from Flipside Tactics and UC Berkeley. Give it up for Goki, going by the name Heaven in this game.
Okay, so I have a question, Fear Dragon. I
What's
believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in the past Goki liked to play those kind of aggressive, like Hellbat Marine medevac all-ins against Zerg pretty commonly.
You can say all-in. Yeah, you can say the word all-in. You don't have to say aggressive. Aggressive is the word that we use when we don't want to say the word all-in. That's actually not true. There are plenty of times people can do aggressive builds. Like, it always reminds me of like those super old days of Liquid Hero. He would be a very aggressive player, but not all-in. He'd actually, in fact, be playing very greedy behind his aggression in terms of macro, but and economy. But yeah, Goki was definitely one of those players that was known for going for a lot of crazy all-ins, and it was pretty difficult to deal with, I think.
Yeah, and I think on Dasan Station, that kind of factor can be amplified by like a magnitude of X, basically, because the rush distance is so short, the map is so wonky, with drops there's so many angles to approach from, and I think it's going to be kind of on Jawu to defend whatever Goki throws at him. I think that's the mindset that he's probably going to have going here into this second game.
Yeah, and second game is always really important for the team that's down a game, because as soon as you lose that second game, you are relying on a 2v2 match and an Archon mode match to even try and bring the series back. And that can be really difficult. Those are not always what I would say call the most stable games to rely on winning, because there's just so many things that can happen. There's so many things that can go wrong.
Well, this first Reaper now is coming into the main base of Jawu. It looks like it might get a drone for free right away. Tries to make that extractor save. Not going to happen. Pulling a few drones off the line to deal with this, but I think Goki's already happy with how that started out.
Yeah, this is already going pretty well. The Reaper, of course, gets to make its way across the map so gosh darn quickly on Dasan Station. Looks like he's also going to be asking for a pause, and good thing that he's going to resolve whatever issues he's having right now, because very soon he's going to be dealing with those Zerglings and really going to probably want his keyboard working.
Yeah, keyboards are definitely important as you head into the mid and later stages of the game. The early side, you can kind of just click on everything and get away with it, but you definitely want to push buttons as the game goes on.
Yeah. Keyboard, I mean, not having your keyboard is a pretty big handicap. I know this because I've played Scarlet in Best of 3, and she did not use her keyboard, and she also off-raced Terran. And it was a close series. I went 1-2.
I saw those tweets.
That should not happen against a player like Scarlet. Like, that just goes to show you how important your keyboard really can be.
Yeah, so guys, if you don't play StarCraft and you just watch it and you're thinking about getting into it, be sure to own a keyboard. That's important. Is CHL the only referee and he left?
I am a referee.
Oh.
I just don't want to unpause it.
Game resumed.
There we go. This Reaper coming back in once again, going to swoop around, throwing down that KD8 charge, not really finding anything. And these Lings are looking for something. He is going to step on creep. He could be caught. These Queens moving into a good position. But he's going to get that full scout off, and this is exactly what Goki was looking for.
Yeah, he might even be able to get out of there with the Reaper. Nope, there comes the second Queen to ambush him, gets the Reaper. But as you were saying, yeah, Goki's going to be still pretty happy with how that Reaper paid off for itself. Jay Woo going to have a very difficult time taking a third expansion on this map. That is one of the most difficult aspects of it, just because what do? You try and take the very forward gold expansion? Well, you're probably going to get pushed, Hellions are going to run by you. It's going to be a very, very difficult and awkward thing. Goki, on the other hand, actually going for that back third expansion, a very, very surprising maneuver from him.
Yeah, I wonder if Jay Woo saw something that would have indicated it was happening, because he started up his Roach Warren, let it get about halfway there, canceled it, and then immediately started a lair around the time that the third was starting up. So I wonder if maybe a well-positioned Overlord caught an SCV, like moving outwards or something along those lines.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It may even just be a bit of indecision just because this map is not exactly one of the most common maps you'll see on the ladder. A lot of people have it struck, and it doesn't matter if you don't have it struck. If most other people have it struck in as a vetoed map, it just means you're less likely to play it because a lot of your opponents won't let you play it.
You know, this is the only map I vetoed in like 3 seasons. Just because...
Oh my god, if I could veto every map except for this one, I would do that.
Yeah, but you don't have to play ZVZ on it. ZVZ on this map is a hellscape.
You should talk to Pig. He knows a lot about the ZVZ meta on this map. He has actually some really fun stuff.
Yeah, I would believe that, but anyways, we got a tank drop coming in here. It's going to start chipping away at the mineral line. Jay Woo on point. Looks like he dropped maybe 1 drone to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not really losing a whole lot so far. Jay Woo just has to be a bit careful with these speed Zorglings. Goki, of course, what we mentioned this before, is really, really solid at that micro. So he's going to do his best job to try and abuse the position on Dasan Station. Should be able to get at least a couple of kills over here, as Jay Woo does occasionally let some Zerglings die.
Yeah, more Zerglings are going to be coming in here to try to force this away, but until he has some way to deal with the medevac, this can just go on forever, and it's all free damage for Goki as long as he doesn't let his macro slip at home, and it doesn't look like that's going to be happening.
Yeah, and of course there is a Spire now finishing up for Jay Woo, so UC Irvine is eventually going to have a response to the Siege Tank harassment, but of course it's also worth noting that Goki got a third before the Zerg player. He's already getting on additional barracks, he's getting on that second, or that factory of the reactor, so he can start pumping out some of the Widow Mines. He should be relatively prepared for any sort of mutals that come out.
Indeed, he is going to want to be retreating soon, otherwise these mutalists are going to pop out and manage to catch his medevac and tank, and that's not a loss that you want to endure. But even if it does go down, it's already gotten 27 kills, and I don't think that he's going to be crying too hard for the loss of it.
Yeah, it does seem like a couple of Marines trying to join forces with the medevac. The Siege Tank very low on health, but it is going to end up surviving. The Marines now coming in, backed up by that medevac Siege Tank, and he's going to see how much damage he can get done over here.
Yeah, these Marines now do step in, stimming up to try to put some hurt onto these drones. The northern drones are evacuated immediately. Queen looks like it will fall as Goki moves into this mineral line. Everything is retreating away, and it looks like he's ready to forfeit his main. That is not a great spot to be in.
Yeah, he's going to possibly end up losing his spawning pool as well. Evolution Chamber will finish up +1 melee, which, by the way, Goki ended up starting up fairly late his own 1-1 upgrades, despite having the engineering base for a while, so he will be falling a bit behind in that regard. Banelin's coming on in, should be able to clean this up.
Oh man, and he manages to save that hatchery with 33 health.
Wow.
It only would have taken a little bit more pepper from those Marines to bring it down. But Jay Woo manages to make the hold, only losing an evolution chamber and some drones.
Yeah, another medevac coming in from the south side, though, and the medevacs are going to be retreating on the north side, potentially drawing those mutals out of position for a little bit, and the hatchery gets sniped off in the meanwhile. Even actually dropping some of these Marines out just to try and force Jay Woo to use those banelings on him. Actually, really nicely done over there.
Oh, and now that this hatchery is gone, that puts Jay Woo in a bit of an uncomfortable position. He may feel like he has to do some counter damage onto his opponent, but he's sitting at home defensively. He knows that Goki is an aggressive player by reputation, and he doesn't want to take the chance of moving out and being countered as soon as his units are out of position.
Yeah, it's definitely nice for Jay Woo that he got his lair at the natural, though, because if he had lost that lair tech, that would have been a whole different story. If he had lost his Spire tech, that would have also been a whole different story. Goki's going to be making his push across the map, and I think there was a bit of an attempt at some damage on the third expansion of Goki, but seems like it was very short-lived.
He's morphing some more Banelings, and now he knows what's coming. It's a Marine Widowmine push with a lot of Medivacs in support here, and this is going to be very potent coming out of our Terran player here, who's putting damage onto this hatchery. He's going to be forcing a kill here, and looks like JWoo's going to be trying to make the hold.
Oh, Widowmine's not getting the best hits, but there's one Widowmine that almost gets a fantastic hit. Looks like all the Banelings and a lot of the Mutalisks end up getting damage or go down. Even though Goki loses a lot of the Marines and the Widowmines, those are fairly replaceable units. In the meanwhile, JWoo doesn't really have the economy to replace even the Zerglings and Banelings that he's making.
Yeah, a lot of the times as a Zerg player, when you make that hold, you feel really good, and you're like, okay, I pushed them away, I'm survived, they're not dead, I've still got 3 bases. And then you lose the game, and you go back and watch the replay, and you're like, but I made the Oh,
JWoo unfortunately ends up losing the Overseer to some of the Widowmines, so can't actually clean them up, and it seems like they may survive for this entire next push-in.
Well, here come the Zerglings and Mutalisks to try to deal with this, but there's no splash damage available to JWoo. Hurt being put once again on this hatchery. He's looking for the best angle he can. The Banelings are now available. The splits are good from Goki, and it looks like they're going to be enough to push these Mutalisks back.
Yeah, 5 more Banelings are going to be on the way, but the base gets canceled once again. The spawning pool actually ends up going down, so no more Zerglings are going to be made. It is just pure Mutalisks, and I guess technically Banelings with the remaining Zerglings, but I just don't know how much that's really going to matter at this point.
Yeah, he's looking for the best angle of engagement he can. He's hoping to catch Goki off guard. Some of these Banelings do make good connections, and the Mutalisks feel like they can try to clean everything up, but the Widowmine hits!
Goki taking game number 2 for his team. UC Berkeley going up 2-0 right now in this best of 5.
Well, guys, after that second match, I do want to take a moment out and once again thank our sponsors that help make this possible. We, of course, have Twitch, broadcast platform you're watching this on. It's the leading esports platform in the world, let's be real. And then we have Band Gaming. And we played you one video. We've got a second one so you can learn a bit more about them. But if you like what you see, be sure to check them out. They're on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.
Ben, Sam, and Ken
be sure
are
to
on
check them
separate
out.
journeys
Of
to
course,
defeat the
as you
menacing
already
wild
mentioned,
dragon.
Twitch, really great organization that helps out the CSL quite a bit. So if you guys are interested, of course, Twitch, you can stream your own games. You can stream, and actually, I do believe that if you are not one of the official scheduled streams or games for the CSL, you can actually go and commentate the CSL in your own team's games on your own. I know that's actually how I got my start into commentating, so do feel free to do that, and yeah. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back in just a little bit with game number 3, which is going to be going into those 2v2s, Joe.
Alright, guys, we'll be right back.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing vile dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
1. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to CSL. We're here on an elimination point with between UC Irvine and UC Berkeley, two California schools rather, and it's going to be 4 Bolt and I don't want to introduce him quite yet.
Yeah, but I mean, you aren't that far from the truth when you say 2 California states, because people have often lobbied to have North California and South California split into 2 different states. California is such a big place, and do not be fooled, these schools are actually not too close to each other, easily at least 6 to 7 hours away from each other. But UC Berkeley representing NorCal, UC Irvine, SoCal.
Well, let's start by introducing our players, because we've got a lot of them once again spawning in the top right-hand and left-hand corner, just the top. Playing for Team UC Irvine, we have 4bolt and Frog Chris.
And down in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we have the purple Protoss player. We have Dat Bolton and Teal Terran player Arca from the Bear Me clan, which is actually a pretty good clan. That's a clan started by Panda Bear Me, or at least very much heavily inspired by Panda Bear Me, and has a fairly good range of different skill levels for players.
So, Robbie, I don't want to call you out too hard here, but I believe his name is Datboy Int. Datboy being one of the new school of memes. It's a frog on a unicycle.
I think it's Dat Boylant.
Dat Boylan? We'll ask him after the game. But anyways, we've got double Zerg versus Protoss Terran, and in my experience as a Zerg player, double Zerg in 2v2 is very weird. You either want to go down like very separate tech paths, or both just be very aggressive very early and try to just completely overrun them with like Massling Baneling.
It is really, really interesting to just see that different teams will oftentimes have different 2v2 strategies. And I will say, UC Berkeley has a very, very large team, so they have access to a lot of different races. Whereas I think UC Irvine, a little bit lower on the player count. I think they have only a few of the registered players, and they don't actually have any Terrans to my knowledge. Arca, I believe, is playing for UC Berkeley, right? Yeah, UC Berkeley. So that might actually explain why 4bolt and Frog Chris end up going Zerg for this, why they have a double Zerg, is because they just don't actually have that many other races to play.
Yeah, and as I think we might have mentioned earlier, I believe playing in the Archon, if you also played in a 1v1, does affect your eligibility to play in that ace match if it comes down to it. So there's a lot of kind of very strategic decisions going on when it comes to figuring out where you want to put your best players out, and a lot of the times the somewhat weaker links can end up in that 2v2.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we do have Stargate coming down right now for the Protoss player, and we also have Starport going up right now for Arca. Both these players playing on that one base style and really just getting up their tech, getting up potentially a really good army for a big push out, whereas the Zerg players mainly just trying to deal with this big push in.
Yeah, actually a lot of these Zerglings have fallen already, and these Adepts are getting right on top of the drones, who are actually being forced to come off the line to fight that, and that's never a great feeling. It's a really cute little, highly microable squad with the Adepts, the Hellions, and the Reapers. They're all units that can kind of dodge slow lings and dodge the Queens for a very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. But Queens are starting to do a pretty nice job of pushing back this force, or at least buying a little bit more time. In terms of worker counts, 4bolt did lose a good number of workers, but he's still sitting at 19, not super far behind, just not exactly the most ideal situation. If the Zerg players can recover from this, they actually are going to be in a really nice spot, but oh no, the Zerglings are going to finally clean up that last Adept for Frog Chris. And it seems like Team Berkeley are going to need to come up with some sort of additional form of tech harassment.
Well, and looks like Arca hears you loud and clear as a Liberator comes across the map. It's going to be looking to find those deadly siege positions. A lot of the times in 2v2 maps, you might not know them quite as well as the 1v1 maps where most people play most of their games.
Well, Oracle number 1 is already out right now for the Purple Protoss player. He's going to be sending it across the map, but he may actually need that back at home to help defend this natural expansion that he's trying to take.
Yeah, and it looks like a kill actually goes down, not a cancel. So that is a very nice pickup for Team UC Irvine. The Terran units are going to come in to push these wings away. They will clean them up, but I think that UC Irvine's got to be feeling pretty good about killing that Nexus.
Yeah, unfortunately, it seems like at the same time, Forbold not really able to mine from that natural expansion due to the Liberator. Now an Oracle comes into the main base, is going to be able to have an absolute joyride going after some of these drones, or that's what I wanted to say, but the Queens come in. Oracle's staying a little bit too overeager over there. Gets sniped off.
Yeah, I think what happened a little bit was due to the heavy early aggression of our UC Berkeley players, a lot of Queens were forced out, and it turns out Queens can hit air units from pretty far away thanks to that range buff. Now, once again, these Queens are going to be dealing with the aggressive push here. We need to see transfuses on that foremost Queen. It does go down, but there's still enough Queens here to push all of this away.
Indeed. And it does also seem like Forbolt has been able to stabilize in terms of that working count, getting up to 35 workers. A little bit, like, I would say undersaturated considering he's on 3 bases now, but I mean, he's getting up that drone count even further, droning like an absolute madman, getting up that layer tech. Both these Zerg players are going to be moving into the later stages, and I feel like they've done a good enough job that they're going to be able to get away with this.
Yeah, I mean, with the amount of creep they have, the amount of Queens available to them, and then just the fact that they have these speedlings running around, they have a pretty good sense of map control, at least on their side of the map. This hit squad of Arca is going to be coming around looking for damage, but like I said, those Zerg players, they've got to be feeling pretty secure.
A couple of roaches are also now out, or at least 1 or 2 roaches have been made, but Oracle's moving back in for Purple Protoss player, able to get a couple of kills, actually a decent number of kills. A lot of the drones are going to end up falling over here for Frog Chris as well.
Yeah, and it's starting to look like a lot of damage being taken by our UCI players. These Reapers continue to put the hurt in the tank, being microed away. These Lings are going to come down and try to get the wraparound in this, but I think there's just enough units with the medevac healing here to deal with this.
Yeah, he does clean up a lot of Zerglings over there, but at the same time, I do feel like Forbold bought a lot of time. He's been knocking down these rocks for quite a bit of time. The Queens are also working away on them, and the Queen's actually doing a really nice job sniping away at that medevac, trying to cut down on that air vision.
Indeed, and now, as you mentioned, these Lings can move freely. They can get the wraparound. It's much easier for UCI now to reinforce through kind of the natural paths that their units want to be moving, and they can hopefully, for them, deny that tank positioning, and I think UC Berkeley is recognizing that and going home.
Later game tech is actually coming out for both of these teams now. We see that the Disruptor is being made for the Purple Protoss player. We have, I believe, a Hydralisk Den that's right now done for the Green Zerg player, Frog Chris. And it's going to be very interesting because normally that is a dynamic that you will see in the 1v1s, the lurkers or even just Hydralisk versus those Disruptors. But in a team game environment, it becomes very different because you don't necessarily need to have as big of a big buffer for those Disruptors as you would in a 1v1. You kind of rely on your teammate a little bit more. Yeah,
I mean, Disruptors in team games are chaotic because there's so many units everywhere as well, right? Like, the potential to miss micro is twice as high because there's twice as many friendly units, but the potential to land a devastating hit is twice as high because there's twice as many enemy units.
Well, Arca's getting ready to move across the map, potentially. This is situated a little bit further out than you'd normally expect, but this creep spread from the 2 Zerg players is starting to get a little bit out of hand. Forbolt, I guess, in the competition of creep spread, is leading up the charge as far. Just slacking a little bit, but still not doing too bad. Ooh, Disruptor shot. Getting a couple of those Zerglings as well. Oh, Queen flank.
Yeah, this high Queen count has just been instrumental in dealing with the non-stop pressure of UC Berkeley. I think, I don't think if it wasn't for the fact that he's up to, how many Queens do we see out here now? 12 Queens. I think these defenses would have been a lot harder.
Well, I'm digging the fact that Arca is going for that 4th expansion. One sort of interesting note that does come up in 2v2 sometimes is the fact that Zerg players oftentimes need to expand a little bit faster. This is, I think, a fairly well-known fact for a lot of people who play StarCraft, but in team games, the number of expansions on the map is significantly reduced, so well, we'll have to see. Zerg players need to make something happen over here, but the Disruptor shots are magnificent, and even though there's a nice concave going for the Zerg players, it just seems like they're getting overwhelmed now.
There's just so much bio out here for the Terran. They managed to segment this army into 2 weaker parts, and it looks like on the left side they may defeat the Protoss army, but I don't know how on earth they're going to deal with all of these upgraded Marines.
Yeah, a couple of the Zerg units are finally starting to make a little bit of progress, but Disruptor's coming back in over there, clean up that army, and the Marines are stimming on forward. There's not a lot of health on these Marines. They really do need to be careful about how much they're stimming right now. Medevac's also starting to get picked off by a Spore Crawler. Got to be careful about that, and it seems like they will eventually be pushed back right at the last second.
Oh, an absolutely brilliant hold from Team UC Irvine, who's continuing to run around on the other side of the map with Lings, looking for any potential, but now it looks like they've been completely cleaned up on the other side of the map, and they're taking, once again, the defensive posture against their opponent, UC Berkeley.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting, just because it seems like both of these teams actually have pretty big banks that are building up. Disruptor Shot killing quite a few high dose over there, but I mean, honestly, both teams have close to 2 to 3K banks going right now. It's just a little bit further ahead in favor of the Zerg players. We'll see what they can do with it, though, because it is not about how big of a bank you build, it's about how fast you can spend that bank.
Walking into that concave was a bit dicey here for our UC Berkeley team, but it looks like with those Liberator positioning, they're going to deny that giant spread of fire, and instead are going to continue pushing up with Disruptors in the back to support. I think this is a very scary army for UC Irvine to be fighting against.
Well, Disruptor Shots continuing to push on in, making it very difficult for the Zerg players to actually move too far forward, because as soon as they do, big Disruptor Shot goes off and kills off a good chunk of their units. They really need to be careful about splitting this army, but I like what's happening right now. Frog Chris coming in from the north side, and it seems like they're going to try and flank this army from 2 different angles.
Yeah, catching a sandwich could be absolutely huge here as these units try their best to find the correct angles. The Disruptor Shots go off. They manage to grab some roaches, but it's a 360 surround. Is it going to be enough here for our UC Irvine team? It looks like they do have enough to clean this up.
Oh, they're at least pushing it back. The north side and I guess the backside flank are a little bit weaker, so the Disruptors are able to escape, and it seems like they're going to retreat into a better position. Liberator is also coming into the mix now, and with no more Hydralisks left over, really just relying on those Ravagers, it seems like that plus the Disruptor Shots are going to be enough to force back the 2 Zerg players. Yeah,
UC Irvine being careful not to overextend. They did eat a couple unfortunate Disruptor Shots, but I think by and large they managed to make a pretty good hold. We do see something interesting going on with Forbolt having a lot more supply than anyone else on the map, and it seems like his overwhelming unit advantage has kind of been anchoring UC Irvine in their defensive holds throughout this game.
Yeah, he has definitely been leading up in terms of army supplier and just supply in general for such a long time. But I mean, that 77 drone count is really, really telling the tale over here in terms of that, a lot of that supply. But setting up for another flank, that's their way of dealing with these Disruptor Shots. Is it going to work out this time? Seems like that north side, oh no, a bit of miscommunication. I think that Forbolt tried to go in, expecting Frog Chris to also go in, but not quite happening over there.
Yeah, now UC Berkeley has split up the allied armies of UC Irvine. A couple good corrosive vials go down, but I'm not sure if either one of these players alone has the firepower to contest the combined forces of UC Berkeley.
Yeah, unfortunately, as much as Forbolt is actually leading up in that supply, his teammate, Frog Chris, is actually at the bottom of the supply count. Not by a whole lot, but you have to remember, he's making a lot of roaches. Roaches are not supply-efficient units, but here come the Vipers over here for Forbolt. Let's see what we can do with them. Some good blinding clouds could really, really turn the tide of this engagement.
Yeah, he could also be looking to perhaps abduct some of those Disruptors, which are really the key AoE here for Dat Boylan. And if they were to get caught, I mean, just Stalkers straight up are going to lose a fight versus Roach Ravager.
Oh. 3 Disruptor Shots being fired at once now. There are 3 Disruptor Shots still left over, and there are some of those abducts that you were talking about, killing off 2 of the Disruptors immediately. Now the Disruptor Shot does go off, and it seems like this army is pushing on forward, but they're eating so many of these Disruptor Shots. Blinding Cloud's actually working against Forbolt and Frog Chris right now.
Yeah, and it looks like so much supply was bled out here from Forbolt, but they did manage to partially reset the Disruptor count. They're keeping it from spiraling out of control, but just non-stop Disruptor production is going to be very dangerous for our UC Irvine team.
Oh man, the engagement angles are going to be so important in all of these upcoming fights, just because I do feel like either team could potentially take an engagement, but I think right now Forbolt and Frog Chris need a little bit more time to pump out some more roaches. If they can get some good blinding clouds, if they can just lock down a lot of this army, those are some pretty decent blinding clouds. Actually, this engagement is going rather well for the Zerg players.
Corrosive vials don't really land on anything, but a lot of the Purification Novas are dodged as well. These roaches come crashing on through. Liberators coming in from the left side, perhaps aiming to rescue the belabored Protoss army. Another Purification Nova manages to snag only a single roach, but once again, UC Irvine finding itself as it has so many times before on the defensive foot.
Yeah, such a close series, such a close engagement, I should say, in this game. Neither team seems to be able to really break too much ground. They're always able to just defend against whatever their opponents lob at them, but it seems like this is going to be the money position right now for Team UC Berkeley. They're getting into this good spot. They're going to be able to snipe off some of these bases, but they need to make sure they don't lose too much of their army in the process.
I mean, they're forcing UC Irvine to fight under liberation zones, which is not the kind of freedom that UC Irvine is looking for. These Stalkers going to blink aggressively on top of the entire army of Team UC Irvine, and now things look to be falling apart for our Double Zerg California school.
Yeah, UC Irvine already sitting down 0-2, and now they're going to start losing their bases. They're so important economy in these games. This is going to be a very, very difficult situation, I think, for Team UC Irvine to crawl back from.
Yeah, Frog Chris is essentially eliminated from the game at this point. Forbolt is trying his best to hold on, and GG is called a 3-0 series. What a bloodbath.
Yeah, that last game, though, I mean, even if it was a 3-0, it was a very, very close last game. That 2v2, always a bit of a wild card, but UC Berkeley is still able to pull it out in the end, coming out and going to be walking away in the CSL this season with a 2-0 lead. Very, very good start for the CSL for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, if you're a fan of UC Irvine, they're still 1-1. They won their first game. Obviously, you know, you want to go undefeated as long as possible, but a team like UC Berkeley is pretty hard to take on, and I think these guys still have a solid shot at making it to the playoffs.
Oh, it is so early on in the CSL right now. There are a ton of matches left to play, so nothing is decided at this point. And of course, not just in terms of, you know, the potential to win games later on if they face off versus some other teams and get a better score. Players improve. Players get so much better just training and practicing over the next couple of weeks and next couple of months. So I'm sure that UC Irvine is going to be looking to try and do that, get their absolute best out there so that they can improve for potentially the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that's going to do it for us, guys. Once again, that was a 3-0 for UC Berkeley. Before we wrap up, we do want to thank our sponsors once again for making CSL possible, for making these broadcasts possible, for giving the players an $8,000 prize pool that they can strive for as student athletes, and I think that's really cool. So our sponsors are Twitch. You can live stream yourself with just the push of a button. There's free software that'll let you do it, and Twitch has some great guides for getting started. So if you're interested in streaming yourself playing games, whether you're a high-level player or a low-level player, or anywhere in between, you can totally do that, and I highly recommend checking it out. And why don't you tell us about our second sponsor before we sign off?
Yeah, and of course, do check out Band Gaming. If you guys are interested, if you're actually organizing your own CSL team, maybe an after-hours gaming league team, maybe you just have a group of friends that you want to play some games with, do check out Band Gaming. It's a great social service that you can actually use and is one of the major sponsors for the CSL. If you're ever interested in organizing events, having chats, all that kind of good stuff, then do check out Band Gaming, and they do provide pretty awesome service for it.
Alright guys, well that's going to do it for us. You can catch us here next time at Tuesday, same time, 7 o'clock PDT. I'm Joe, and this was Fear Dragon. Alright guys, be sure to tune in next time.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.